What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 9:27 a.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Venezuela. Wanted to update you guys with all the latest breaking news that I have about that situation. It looks like a strike on Venezuela could be any day now. So the Trump administration apparently delivered a stern ultimatum to Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, to leave Venezuela immediately. And this was before Trump announced the closure of Venezuela's airspace. Apparently, the warning was delivered in a phone call with Venezuela and offered guaranteed evacuation for Maduro, his wife, and their son, but only if Maduro agreed to resign on the spot. Okay, so they wanted Maduro to resign immediately, and then they would guarantee that he could flee to Russia or some other country with his wife and son. Okay, but from what I'm hearing is that Maduro wanted to stay in power another 18 months. Now, we also have some comments from the Trump administration, from Trump himself. I want you to take a listen to what he had to say about the phone call with Maduro, because they did have a phone call, and then also what he said about closing the airspace. So take a listen.
Causing a lot of problems.
Does your warning
and drugs.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't do that.
Mr. President,
So basically he said, yes, we had a phone call. No, I can't talk about it, and don't read into anything about the airspace closure. He's obviously trying to preserve operational security.
Did you say it went well?
I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call causing a lot of problems.
So he said about the phone call, I wouldn't say it went well or that it went badly. It was just a phone call. And we have some very interesting breaking news coming in about the interstellar object 3I Atlas. So according to thermal gradient imagery, 3I Atlas is firing structured jets with possible intentional control. The newest image of interstellar object 3I Atlas, captured on November 29th, 2025 at 21:53 UTC time by an observer in Thailand, represents one of the most revealing rotational gradient analyses of the object to date. Using a Larsen-Sekanina filter to strip away the coma and reveal underlying structural geometry, this frame isolates two crisp, co-limited jets, each emerging in opposite directions, while also confirming a sunward-pointing anti-tail projected toward the lower left. So here you can see those jets coming off of this comet to the left and to the right. So basically that's not natural. Okay, so this suggests that this thing has some kind of internal steering, some kind of internal propulsion. Okay, so this could be some kind of alien spaceship. All right. And according to various reports, Russian fighter jets triggered an air defense alert in Poland on Friday. 4 MiG-31 fighter jets from Russia reportedly flew towards the Russian border near Poland. The newspaper Bild reported, citing information from NATO circles. Polish armed forces, as well as the German military units stationed in Poland, then put their air defense systems on the highest alert. Okay, so very concerning. Before Thanksgiving, or on Thanksgiving, Russian bombers flew towards Poland and Kaliningrad. And then over the weekend, Russian fighter jets flew towards Poland, and that forced Polish and German fighter jets and air defenses to be put on the highest level of alert. And we're hearing now that Russia started a massive evacuation of their citizens from Venezuela. We're hearing about thousands of Russian citizens being evacuated. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Venezuela has become a major launch pad for huge volumes of cocaine shipped to West Africa, where jihadists are helping traffic it to Europe in record quantities. Traffickers are flying at least one cargo plane a week from Venezuela to West Africa, say current and former Western officials. Smugglers turn off their planes' transponders to hide their movements and bribe air traffic controllers to switch off their tracking systems when drug planes are overhead. So these secret drug smuggling flights from Venezuela into West Africa, very, very concerning. And there's a new airspace restriction in Venezuela, this time along Venezuela's southern border. And it's in effect until March the 1st. Okay, here you can see all the coordinates of this flight restriction. Multiple areas in southern Venezuela, close to the border of Brazil. And Trump said, "We do not consider Venezuela to be a friendly country." Also, according to media reports, Venezuela has announced a series of measures in response to what it calls an illegitimate and unlawful attempt by the U.S. to block its airspace. And Venezuela's President Maduro repeatedly tried to contact Trump since the airspace closure was announced on Saturday morning. Okay, so that's pretty concerning. And I want to read to you what Venezuela had to say about the airspace closure. So Venezuela denounces and condemns the colonialist threat that seeks to affect the sovereignty of its airspace, constituting a new extravagant, illegal, and unjustified act of aggression against the people of Venezuela. Venezuela denounces to the world that such assertions represent an explicit threat of the use of force, clearly and unequivocally prohibited by Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the UN Charter. Okay, so they're calling this an imperialist act. Okay. And Trump told Maduro that if he didn't leave willingly, the U.S. would consider other options, including the use of force. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal. And the New York Times, citing sources, reports that the White House is engaged in deliberations concerning potential strikes on targets within Venezuela. So they're already discussing specific targets. They're deliberating, okay? And U.S. officials who spoke to Reuters said they were surprised by yesterday's announcement on social media from Trump and unaware of any ongoing military. And Venezuela deployed 5,000 Russian Igla anti-aircraft missiles in anticipation of a potential attack from the U.S. According to military sources, the units have received orders to disperse and hide in various locations throughout the country. Okay, 5,000 Russian Igla anti-air missile systems. 5,000, guys, spread across the country. And the Venezuelan regime offered in several conversations with Washington that Maduro step down from power within a period of 18 months. Okay, but Trump wants him gone now. He doesn't want to wait. And U.S. intelligence agencies have given the military in the U.S. intelligence about the location of drug facilities in both Venezuela and Colombia. And U.S. military officials have developed a range of target options for Trump, including Venezuelan military units that profit from the drug trade or support Maduro. And the Washington Post is reporting that the U.S. military has been conducting constant patrols in international airspace near Venezuela. And Cuba is planning to evacuate diplomats from Venezuela. Internal sources confirm that Cuban regime officials will leave Venezuela due to possible imminent military attacks, fearing arrest. And Portugal has opened emergency lines to help its citizens in Venezuela. And we're hearing that Venezuela's military has set up checkpoints near the Caracas International Airport Also, there's been an increase in security forces and surveillance in the eastern part of Venezuela near Trinidad, according to local Trinidadian news outlets. Also, local reports from Venezuela are saying that the government there is deploying militiamen and army units near the Colombian border, and they're apparently militarizing the area. And Venezuela's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that Iran and Venezuela are united in our struggle for a world governed by justice and dignity. And we know that Iran has been building Shahed drones inside of Venezuela for Venezuela to counterattack against the U.S. The Shahed drones are those long-range drones. They have a 500-pound warhead, so that's like half of a Tomahawk missile, and they have a range of 1,500 miles. They could theoretically strike Florida from Venezuela with those Shahed drones and potentially even hit our strategic petroleum reserve and other important areas along the Gulf Coast. And the U.S. has deployed an ANTPS-80 ground air task-oriented radar to the air base in Tobago, the Robinson International Airport that has now been turned into a U.S. military base. This S-band radar provides long-range 360-degree four-dimensional surveillance for air and missile defense, fire control support, and air traffic control, which will significantly enhance regional awareness. Okay, so they have this radar right off the coast of Venezuela in Tobago. Okay. And Cuba's foreign minister has accused the U.S. of causing persistent electromagnetic interference over the Caribbean, specifically above Venezuelan airspace, blaming it on the growing U.S. military buildup in the region. So he's talking about GPS jamming, okay? Now, interestingly, right now we have this U.S. Navy recon drone in the Gulf, right off the coast of Mexico, near the Yucatan Peninsula. So I don't know if the Trump administration is going to be striking some of these areas here in Mexico. Some of these provinces in Mexico are extremely dangerous. So this is very, very unusual, guys. So we have to keep an eye on that. And in case you didn't see Trump's tweet, this is what he said: to all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Okay, so he posted that Saturday morning. And we're hearing that NATO may carry out a preemptive strike against Russia. For the first time, the alliance is discussing the possibility of a preemptive strike on Russia in response to Russia's recent hybrid attacks. Admiral Giuseppe Dragone, the head of NATO's military committee, told the Financial Times, according to the newspaper, a number of Eastern European diplomats are demanding that NATO stop merely expressing concern and deliver a response. Wow. And Congress has now officially opened inquiries into the situation with the U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth and the legality of boat strikes on targeting on survivors. So basically what happened was a few weeks ago when they struck one of these boats and there were survivors clinging to the wreckage of the boat, apparently Hegseth ordered the military to kill the survivors, which is against international law. Okay, you're not supposed to kill wounded soldiers. And Trump, in response, said, I don't know what happened. And Pete said he did not even know what people were talking about. I wouldn't have wanted a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And Netanyahu has asked to be pardoned from his ongoing corruption trial, claiming it would hinder his ability to govern and a pardon would benefit Israel. So he's asking the president of Israel to pardon him. And militaries linked to Venezuelan government across South America continent. And the U.S. Central Command announced that they have destroyed more than 15 sites containing ISIS weapons caches in southern Syria from November 24th through November 27th with assistance from the Syrian Ministry of Interior. And Ukrainian MiG-29s carried out strikes with hammer bombs on a Russian command post. There was also a Neptune missile attack on Crimea. China issued a clear warning to the U.S. stating that Washington should avoid any military move against Venezuela. Beijing says the U.S. must not threaten a nation where China has major investment interests. Wow. And NATO has recently conducted war games in Europe that explicitly simulated scenarios where the continent would need to defend itself without direct U.S. military support, with forces largely under French, British, or German command. And U.S. and Ukrainian officials held what both sides called productive talks on Sunday about the Russia peace deal, with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio expressing optimism about progress despite challenges to ending the more than 3-year-long war. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, how many times have they said, oh, productive talks, productive talks? You know, they went to Alaska. They did all these different meetings, you know, and so far nothing. So I don't think there's going to be any peace deal, guys. And Lithuania had to close their airspace over the weekend because of balloons that flew in from Belarus. That's becoming a regular thing now. Zelensky spoke with the head of NATO and the head of the EU over the weekend. And the U.S. envoy for Ukraine, Steve Witkoff, is going to Moscow on Tuesday to talk about the peace plan. And apparently a third Russian oil tanker was hit by Ukrainian sea drones. So lots of stuff going on, guys. I will be monitoring all of these events. And once the strikes in Venezuela happen, I will go live 24/7 if I have to. We did have a lot of nuclear codes over the weekend. We had another global over-the-horizon radar last night. We had as many as 45 nuclear codes yesterday. So U.S. nuclear forces are on very high alert, and it could go down at any time. And I wanted to just let you guys know that we have a lot of snow hitting the Midwest and the eastern U.S. You can see all these winter weather advisories for the Rust Belt, for the Midwest, for the Central Plains, for Appalachia, up into New England. So if you're traveling tonight through the next 48 to 72 hours, make sure you have a winter survival kit in your vehicle. Best of all, don't travel unless you have to. Travel only locally, okay? And make sure you have recovery gear if you get stuck in the snow. Keep some traction boards, keep a tow strap. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is MyPatriot Supply. Guys, MyPatriot Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to use my link. It's in the description below this video. It's preparewithNYPrepper.com. So they're selling their 3-month emergency food kit at 30% off. Plus, they're going to throw in an additional month of food. So that's 4 months of food. And the normal price would be $944. And they're selling it at just under $700 for 4 months of food. And this food has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all packed into rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space in your home. And the food is obviously nutritious, which is very important for surviving any kind of SHTF situation. You can also use this food for camping and traveling. But use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get a free month of emergency food with your 3-month emergency food kit from MyPatriot Supply, all at 30% off, just $700 for 4 months of food. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get the deal, and the link is in the description below this video.